Welcome back to Between Two White Coats, a podcast designed to help you be the healthiest version of yourself. I'm Dr. Michelle Plaster, a family medicine doctor.
And I'm her co-host, Amber Foster, a family nurse practitioner. In our combined 30 years in medicine, we've seen a lot.
We're discussing key issues surrounding health and wellness, answering some of our biggest questions, overcoming health obstacles, and giving patient-centered advice in hopes of educating you and providing the tools you need to live a healthy life.
If you find our podcast helpful, please consider subscribing so you don't miss an episode. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating and review. This will help other people find our podcast.
Thanks for joining us. We look forward to serving you.
Thank you for joining us today on Between Two White Coats. Today we have Dr. Kevin Stadlbauer again. He's a doctor of physical therapy, and I have learned very passionate about movement and exercise, and so I'm so thankful to have you here with us today. Today we're going to be talking about getting started with an exercise routine. So often, a lot of times I think we have really good goals or maybe like ideals of exercise that people are going to go hop on a treadmill or do some sort of strength training program, but sometimes just evaluating where you are and kind of where your goals or maybe where you need to be can be difficult. So we brought Kevin on today to discuss all of that with us.
Yes, thank you.
All right, Kevin. So as I mentioned, getting started with safe exercise. So sometimes patients are a little apprehensive about exercise because they're worried they may injure themselves or hurt themselves. So what would you say to the patient that's like, oh, is exercise safe for me?
Yes, so absolutely safe. And I think that fear that people have is totally normal, right? A lot of the times I've gotten injured exercising. I've gotten injured lifting heavy weights. However, that injury didn't define me in that moment for the rest of my life. And I think when people have these injuries that occur, it can be monumental. It can be, they don't know what's going on. They don't know, why do I hurt in my back? And so it's really difficult for them to overcome. But when we start thinking about exercise, really what exercise is, it's just movement, right? And movement is what we do every day. And so getting started would be really contextual based off the person and their goals and where they're at. And so it's really important to define, okay, what are you doing now? Or what have you done? And really, what do you value? What do you enjoy? So if you like to garden, well, how can we make gardening your exercise? Yeah, we might need to get a shovel out, and you're going to have to dig a good area, a new garden, or you really wanted to change this part of your garden to fit this new plant. I don't know. I'm not a very good gardener, so
Neither are we. So you're good.
But there, a lot of times we lean on machines to do a lot of things for us now, and we can get off the tractor and do more things by hand.
Sure.
And really get your hands in the soil and enjoy gardening with being more active.
Right.
It's funny that you mentioned gardening. My father is 80 years old and very active.
He is a master gardener.
And he's a master gardener.
And
cool. he would be upset if I didn't.
Yeah.
And he really contributes his ability to get around without effort with gardening. And we were at the beach recently with friends, and we were sitting in those low beach chairs. And he's 80, and he got up without pushing with his arms or anything. And then we have a 60-year-old friend that was there, and she really struggled, and we gave her a hand. And my dad, of course, pointed out how he's older and got up out of the chair.
Yeah.
But he said it's from gardening. It's because he gets down and puts the seeds in, and he gets back up, and he has strong hip flexors from doing all that because, he just gets out and gardens. I appreciate what you're saying, that our bodies are meant to move, that this is not some foreign weird thing that your body isn't expecting. And so what are you doing now? And then baby steps in the right direction. So do a little bit more. Amber, you and we had your dad on the podcast in early episodes with his health crisis from many, many years of not doing anything,
yes.
particularly not moving, not taking care of himself.
Very
He
much so.
would tell us that that was exactly what led him to a lot of having heart attack, having sleep apnea, finding out he's diabetic, a lot of stuff that all hit him at once. But Amber, the daughter nurse practitioner coach, said, "You're going to get moving, Dad."
Yeah.
And so he went from someone who rode in a car, walked to the bathroom, walked to the kitchen, to
Slept on the couch.
to someone who moved quite a bit. How did he get started?
Well, I didn't really give him a whole lot of options after that heart attack. I was like, either you're going to do like, my mom and I were at the place with my dad that I was personally, and this is just, this is family kind of talking. I always tell patients, I treat patients like family, and sometimes that's not good. And this is probably one of those times, but I was like, Dad, I can't care more about it than you do. And like, we're not going to do all of this, and we're not going to go through all of this if you're not going to be committed to your own health. And so I honestly think it kind of shocked my dad, into being like, okay, let's do this. And of course there was a lot of emotion involved in that, but, when he came home after having open heart surgery, well, actually, before he had a heart attack, and we had to wait 5 weeks because his kidneys he did not have the ability, his kidney function, to undergo the surgery. So we had to wait, which was like the longest 5 weeks ever. And so I was like, well, you're going to have to start moving because he needed to lose some weight. We know that morbid obesity does not lend well to anesthesia and or surgical procedures. And so I was like, you've got to drop a little bit of weight. And so we, my nieces and my kids were there, and we cut out hearts, and we put them, my parents' house, had like a dining room, a kitchen, the foyer, and then the den. And so we just stuck hearts up, and we called it his heart walk. And so every day he got up and did his heart walk. And then,
so we're just talking about doing a lap at the house.
A lap at the house. And so it was a lap at the house. And then by the time surgery was done, like, walking became something that was very motivating for him. And so then after open heart surgery and all that, I don't even know how many miles and miles he walked. He did keep up with it, but most days he ended up walking from 1 lap in the house to 4 miles a day. And so it really did, just that one little motivating factor. I was like, you have to be here for your grandchildren, And
I think people hear all the time that, legal coverage of check with your doctor before you start any exercise program. There are very few people who cannot safely start moving. Your dad was not in a place at that moment where anyone's going to prescribe him training for a triathlon. But nor was he in a place in that moment where that was even an option. What he needed to do was move within his tolerance. And so day 1 is half of the heart lap. Day 2 is the whole heart lap. And then he's doing the heart lap more. And he's a person with blockages who's waiting to have open heart surgery to treat those blockages, and he can move around his house safely, and that movement had him prepared for surgery.
He lost we also had him on what I called very strict diet regimen. We joke about it now, but I was like, I dare you to put something in your mouth that's not supposed to be in there. So we were very strict on that too, but he lost about 30 pounds in that 5 weeks just from moving and like literally watching everything that was going in his mouth. So, movement added so much value to his surgical procedure, his post-op, and then his ability to kind of regain strength after having, major open heart surgery where he had 5-vessel bypass. Like that was, that in of itself, getting your chest cracked open is not a very pleasant experience.
And so I think that really lends us to see that everybody is capable of moving some. It is less safe to sit still and do nothing. And more safe to get up and start doing something. Your bodies are meant to do that, and it's better for his heart, and it's better for everything. And so, as Kevin was saying, recognizing where you are now and just starting to take baby steps in the right direction, and then pushing yourself a bit. So you may time yourself and say, I'm going to do this 1 lap of my house, and then I'm going to try to do it a little faster. I'm going to add a little bit more over time. I think that when people are struggling to get started, it's easy to be focused in the I can'ts. Because if you haven't done anything in a while, there's a full list of things that you're frustrated that you can't do. So how do we take the person with their I can'ts and get them going?
Absolutely. I think that's a very normal process for any of us, but the important thing is starting with the thing that you value most. And if that means, I want to be able to get on the ground with my grandchild, well, we're going to have to take some steps to get there. But I think it really is going to bode well with the person to contemplate, to really think, how important is it for me in my future to do something now? Because if we get stuck in the I can'ts, then we'll be stuck in the I can'ts. And I think it is valuable to be honest with yourself and realize, all right, I'm so stuck. I do need help, and I need professional help via my primary care, or even from a behavioral health standpoint, because those I can'ts can be deep rooted into things that may be outside of their control, and helping them surface those feelings and really, really what we're talking about is the ability to be able to accomplish a task, right? And so I think it's important for us to be retrospective and thinking, okay, what did I do today? Well, okay, I got up. That's good, right? There are people, and I've treated people who were in bed for months at a time, and people who are sick or in a hospital. I do acute care PRN, and these people are stuck. They don't know how, and so there is a big I can't. But when we put when we bind ourselves down like that, then we don't realize how amazing humans are, right? Your dad was able to lose 30 pounds and do things within his own control, right? Some things are outside of our control, and those truly are I can'ts. But when we start to flip the switch, or get help to help us flip the switch, then we start to realize, wait, I'm human. I'm meant to be here to do something great. I'm meant to affect someone in a positive way and help them because I've been helped and I've been loved. And when we engage in those types of opportunities, it drives us. And then we become driven from this I can't to, oh yeah, I can.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Or I
can get out of the I can get on the
Yes.
beach, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just dealing with a patient the other day who was told that she can't go to her grandchild's football games because the son or the daughter was fearful of her falling, or she limited herself from going because she didn't want to be that quote unquote old person that she can't get up the stairs. So she didn't want to hold people back. And I'm thinking, why?
I love what you said about shifting value. I think that exercise, when we say something like exercise, and Shelley and I've talked about like movement being a term that we coin instead of saying you need to exercise is you need to move, because there's so many negative connotation, that comes with the word exercise. And so we get in this guilt shame cycle. But when you just said, what do you value? Like that is so much more helpful than like the exercise industry where everyone looks like Barbie dolls and Ken dolls, you know, like where everybody has a six pack.
Yeah.
It's what do you value?
Yeah.
And so I can appreciate that a ton. I was like, that is good, Kevin.
Yeah.
Well, that's, as physical therapists, that's what we ask people, because really that's where we're going to get buy-in, or the therapeutic alliance that we're trying to build, right? I don't want to treat you and you the same if you have the same problem. You're going to have different contextual beliefs. You're going to have different things that I have to become aware of than you. And so if I don't think about those things and I treat you two the same, yeah, you both might get better. That's the beauty of being human, right? We go through these healing phases, or we go through some things similarly, right? But if we don't try and meet the person where they're at, then it is going to be this kind of guilt shame cycle. I tried, I don't know. But if we think about, man, I used to garden like crazy, or I used to be able to walk out on the beach and walk for 5 to 6 miles, and now I can't. Well, why is that?
Right.
What do you think has caused that? And if it's inactivity, well, we got to start somewhere. And a lot of the times that is hard. I mean, I work out 5 to 6 times a week, and it's not like it's a joy every time I go. but it's something that I value enough that it tells me, hey, Kevin, you did something really hard today. And when I do something really hard, I know I can do something else really hard. That means, oh, I can help my neighbor move, or I can overcome, some of these societal complications that are embarking on all of us, right? I can overcome those things because I'm doing something really hard, right?
I love what you're saying, because I think when we say getting started in movement and getting started in safe exercise, first we have to address getting started. And getting started is a mental exercise as well as a physical one. And so to get started, you have to tap into your why. And the why could be something so simple as wanting to go to the football game. And then you figure out how to safely start getting there. And if you haven't been able to do things, or you're frustrated about the fact that you can't go to the football game, then you can mentally get stuck in what you can't do. And so we're asking you to then shift that focus to what you can do. So you mentioned reflecting back on, what did you do today? What can you do? How could you do that a little bit more? Can you do chair exercises? Can you do other things? And then what you can, when Amber's dad was doing one heart lap, then it became more and more. So focusing on what you can do allows your brain to go to that more motivating place as well. But if you can't get there, if you can't get out of the if you can't find your motivation, or you can't get out of the I can'ts, and be able to start recognizing what you can do, then that's where you dig into the appropriate help for getting motivated and getting your mental started where it needs to be, so that your physical started will come right behind it. And then recognizing that it doesn't really matter where we're trying to get to entirely. We are going to keep making small steps to get there. And so we have a patient who she had a lot of medical issues that made her very immobile, and she really had to fight back. And she had the small task of, she wanted to be able to walk up on the stage and give diplomas at the school that she works at. And it took her months to be able to get her steps and then to climb stairs. And she was able to do that for graduation. And she could, there were days she was very frustrated. There were days that she felt like she wasn't going to get there, but she had that goal set. She met that goal, and she knows, just like you with your exercise, that she can set the next goal, and that she's going to meet it. And maybe it takes time and energy, but she's not afraid of putting in the time and energy to get there, and she's continuously getting stronger and being able to do more. And it's really about putting that one step in front of the other, so that you're starting to move in the right direction, and doing a little bit more over time, doing it a little bit faster, adding a little bit of weight. And if you are concerned, as if you have health issues and you want to make sure that you're safe to move, see your primary care, see your cardiologist. And I promise you, any of those white coats are going to encourage you to move, and they will help figure out what's safe for you. There's cardiac rehab that people can go to and start getting stronger when they are post-cardiac events and such. And every cardiologist would want you to do that, because the key to really reversing a lot of the things that put you in this situation is the movement.
Right.
Getting the exercise is going to be a big part of your healing, and being able to do so much more. Also, when it comes to safety, our bodies talk to us every day, and most of the time, if we'll listen, we'll be safe. So when something hurts very much, if it's a little, like I'm on the 12th rep and it's getting heavier and heavier, that's a different kind of hurt. Right. That's a good hurt. That's me making myself stronger. When I go to pick it up and things lock up and I'm like, oh, that's really heavy. Yeah. Then I might need to step down some weight. Your body's going to tag to you. Absolutely. When you're doing your heart lap and you're on the 3rd lap and you're feeling like you're getting just a bit winded, you sit and you catch your breath. Yeah. There's no gold medals being given out for any of this stuff today. You're going to get your gold medal by just doing the best that you can, listening to your body. When your body asks you to rest, when your body tells you it's too heavy, then you pull back. If the next day you're so sore that you can hardly move because you really pushed yourself hard, then you pull back.
Absolutely.
But you're going to, your body's constantly giving you information. We get really good at not hearing it.
Sure.
But if you tune in, I think most of the time you'll be able to prevent injury and keep yourself safe by just listening to the cues that your body is giving you.
Absolutely. And it's important over time to track that. You can write that down so that you know exactly how to manipulate some of those what I call variables, but just movement, just patterns that, oh yeah, well, I did upper body that day, I had this level of soreness. Or if you're compromised in any way by some sort of health problem, oh, I had this symptom, I had to take nitro, I'm going to have to definitely dial back there, right? So that I don't exacerbate these symptoms, and I can thrive within this medical condition and continue to work towards overcoming it. And that's the beauty of being human, is we can override a lot of these things by our own behaviors and by our own consistent actions that we do. But at times that can be hard, and it is understandable for people to start and stop and start and stop. And again, I think it's important that we give grace, but that we also empower and let people know that this is what we're meant to be, enjoying life, not sitting and doing nothing. But that can be enjoyable too.
Yeah. Or I
do it.
Yes, I was, when we were preparing for the podcast episode, I was just reading, and it was saying that previous to our technological advances, like with motor vehicles and even the internet and computers and phones and all that we were a lot more active as a society. Well, now, the average is what I read was 13 to 15 hours a day we're sitting, and so that's a lot of time. That's sitting. That's not sleeping. That's sitting. And so even just making small changes, like parking a little further from Walmart door,
Sure.
and you just get a few extra steps that way. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the grind it at the gym. It's just making those small little tweaks.
But you're absolutely right. Our grandparents did not have to buy a gym membership or figure out, they often walked to where they needed to go, and there wasn't air conditioning and everyone didn't have a car and all those kind of things. We really have to, in today's society, we really have to plan out our movement.
Make it more proactive.
You have to be intentional.
Yeah.
You have to say, this is my activity. And I wear a watch so that when I'm in my activity mode, boom, I'm in my activity mode. And when I'm done with my activity mode, I turn it off. And so that's, steps, there's great research too, the whole 10,000 steps and parking further away. So for getting started, just find your time. I like to use a timer. I think it's really important to use a timer because you're not getting distracted. Oh, I'm not going to get on my phone and, override this time with other things that really you may value more. So carve out your time, make it the same time if you can every day, or you can accumulate it over time. But be intentional when you do. I'm parking the furthest away every time, or I'm going up the stairs every time. Without question, I'm going to have to tell my boss I'm late because I'm late, because then you'll start putting value.
Yeah, and you become
that.
the person who takes the stairs.
Right.
And people are like, oh, we're going to take the stairs because we're
Stair
walking with
taker.
them.
Yeah.
Our advice for how to get started is get started.
It really is, because
it's
it's safe. It's what we're supposed to do, but to not stop there, right? When what we're talking about is important to get started, but to really drive you towards the physical activity guidelines of the 5 times a week of aerobic conditioning at a moderate intensity, because there's just enormous benefits that you get from that. But there's enormous benefits from getting started. So move more, stay still less, and enjoy that.
Yes, pat yourself on the back for the things you can do, and as you do this, you're gonna be adding to that list. There will be more and more things that you can do, and you'll feel really good about it.
Yes.
Thank you, Kevin, for joining us. Thank you for this excellent and motivating. I feel like I want to go exercise right now.
Right.
Let's go.
And so we encourage all of you to move a little bit more, to use the body the way that it is meant to be used, and we promise that you will get health benefits from it. Thank you so much for joining us. We like to end on a good note. So here's today's Tell Me Something Good. Positive energy, positive vibes, sending out the optimism and really trying to have your cup half full. So we encourage you today to try to look for what's going right and to not spend too much time on what's going wrong. Keep your energy positive. Thank you for joining us, and until next time, take care of yourself.